Welcome to the Technical Writing Success Podcast. This is episode 134. I'm Fred.
And I'm Daphne. Really excited today. We're exploring a topic that's, well, pretty foundational for careers in this field. It was actually suggested by our producer, senior technical writer, Kurt Robbins.
That's right.
And it's based on a really insightful presentation called Balancing the Equation, Doing More Than Documentation, which was authored by Jodi Zolli. Yeah, great source.
So our mission today really is to give you a kind of strategic roadmap. It's about fundamentally increasing your value, broadening your career scope. We want to help move technical writers from just being those end-of-process editors to becoming truly essential, indispensable partners in the whole product development cycle.
And the source material, it kind of hits you with a tough reality right up front. It talks about this core problem, the over-the-wall scenario.
Yeah. I know this one.
Right. It's when documentation is just seen reactively. It only really happens when the project is like almost totally designed and built. The writer is just sitting there waiting for info to be chucked over the wall, often at the very last minute. And the big consequence of being in that reactive spot is what Zolli calls unequal dependence. Just think about it for a second. As a writer, you depend completely on engineers for that product info, right? Totally dependent.
But what do the engineers actually need from you in return?
Yeah.
Honestly, very little, maybe nothing, until launch day is breathing down their necks. So if your only real contribution is that documentation after the fact, you risk being seen as just a time sink or even, a resource drain, an expense.
And that perception, that's the professional killer, really. The solution isn't about waiting for someone to give you permission. It's about radically shifting that dynamic yourself.
Okay, so being proactive.
Exactly. Technical writers, you already have this unique mix of skills that lets you contribute way beyond just the docs repository. The goal, as the source puts it, is for you to become like the Swiss Army knife of technical writers.
I like that.
Yeah, highly adaptable, immediately useful, and relevant right across the whole organization.
The Swiss Army knife. That's a great metaphor. It implies you're portable, you have immediate use, your value isn't just stuck in the documentation repo, it's tied to the function you can perform. So let's look at the strategic upside. What are the big organizational benefits that start showing up when writers shift from being reactive to, proactive?
Well, the immediate payoff is strategic, definitely. First off, you start to chip away at that unequal dependency with engineering. That's huge.
Right.
When you begin contributing value upstream, earlier in the process, the whole perception of documentation instantly gets better. You shift from being seen as a cost center, something that just happens to the project, to being a value creator.
Which is massive.
Yeah.
Because that improved visibility translates directly into increasing your actual value to the company overall, doesn't it?
Exactly. But maybe the biggest long-term plus is that it forces you to engage across different teams, different silos, not just engineering.
Right.
So you gain this really comprehensive, three-dimensional view of how the company works, the product lifecycle, internal processes. And personally for you, it just exponentially increases your relevance and your options for future career moves.
That's the real kicker, isn't it? If your skills only get used on that final test polish, you're basically invisible until the 11th hour. But if you're involved earlier, maybe defining the process or shaping the user experience, your unique skills get noticed.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's start applying that Swiss Army knife idea. What's the first area? Usability.
Yeah, the first one's pretty obvious for us. Improving usability and the user experience, UX. I mean, we're inherently the user's advocate, right?
True.
What we bring is that deep knowledge of the audience and their tasks. We have skills in polishing, clarifying, and a real knack for spotting inconsistencies, confusing flows, weird terminology, bad labeling right there in the interface itself. Plus, we often see those early designs and prototypes before they even get coded.
So we've got the intuition, the polishing skills down. But how do we, formalize that, turn that gut feeling into a contribution that people see as high value?
Okay, good question. We need to pick up specific knowledge. Things like usability test methods. The source points towards resources like usability.gov and understanding how to actually apply common design heuristics.
Heuristics, like rules of thumb.
Exactly. They're just established best practices for good interface design. It means moving beyond saying, this feels confusing, to something like, okay, this violates the visibility of system status heuristic. That's a measurable professional insight, not just an opinion. That's a really critical difference. Okay, next up, process definition and improvement. This sounds like capturing, streamlining, optimizing how work gets done. The source seems to really emphasize consensus gathering skills here. Why would a technical writer be better at that than, say, a manager?
It often comes down to perception. We're usually seen as more neutral observers. Our goal is optimizing the procedure itself,
Yeah.
not managing the people doing it.
Oh, okay.
So what we possess is that skill in optimizing procedures, visualizing complex workflows, and driving consensus among stakeholders who might, be resistant to change. We analyze complex process interactions every single time we write a clear procedure.
Right. But to make that work, you absolutely need to understand the specific processes involved, identify the real pain points, and know exactly who owns those processes, don't you?
Moving on, creating graphics, diagrams, and flows. Our existing skills here are pretty clear, I think. We logically organize details, we communicate information with a very specific intent, and we understand how to turn dense text into something visual, something immediately understandable for the audience. So the gap here is really just tool skills. Getting really good with graphic development tools could be anything from Visio for basic flowcharts, maybe up to Illustrator for more polished production-ready stuff, pretty much. And finally, in this section, there's an often overlooked area. Enhancing and organizing engineering content. We're talking design docs, architecture specs, feature requirements, that kind of thing. Okay, think about it. A writer is often the very first internal downstream audience for an engineering spec. So what we bring is the ability to clarify, to polish that dense information, spot hidden assumptions, and anticipate knowledge gaps before the design gets locked down. That anticipation, that's the unique value add, isn't it? You spot the information gap that the engineer who's totally immersed in the tech might just naturally miss.
Exactly. But for this to actually work, you need a few things. You need access, obviously document awareness, and critically, you need support from engineering. They have to be willing to accept your input, maybe even let you influence their document templates or standards.
Yeah, that definitely takes some diplomacy. And of course, building up your subject matter expertise.
For sure.
Let's take a brief break for a special message from our producer, Kurt Robbins.
Hi, this is Kurt Robbins. First, thanks for listening. I truly appreciate your support. I want to let you know that I'm currently accepting new clients. My rates are affordable, and I have more than 25 years of experience working for enterprise companies like Microsoft, Northrop Grumman, Oracle, PNC Bank, FedEx, USAA, and Wells Fargo, among many others. If you want to improve your IT documentation and communications, hire me. I deliver fast, know how to use AI to improve efficiency and accuracy, and love going the extra mile to satisfy my clients. Thank you for subscribing and listening. Back to you, Daphne and Fred.
Welcome back to the Technical Writing Success Podcast. Before the break, we were talking about how you, as technical writers, can leverage your existing skills in areas like usability, process improvement, graphics, and even enhancing core engineering content.
Right.
Now we're going to tackle some potentially bigger leaps, getting involved in training, QA, and even project management. Okay.
So starting with creating and delivering training, which is basically instructional design, what we already have is, well, usually a deep well of product knowledge. We have expertise in breaking down complex procedures, and we're good at identifying those critical knowledge gaps for learners.
But instructional design, that's a real specialty. It takes more than just clear writing, right? What's the extra knowledge or shift in mindset needed there?
Yeah, it is a discipline. You need to understand instructional design principles, things like ADEE, which stands for Analysis, Design, Development, Implementation, and Evaluation, and crucially, cognitive load theory.
Cognitive load theory. Tell me more.
It basically helps you structure information to minimize the mental burden on the learner, which is exactly what good documentation aims to do, right?
Yeah.
But here it's applied specifically within a structured learning environment.
Ah, okay. So we're taking those clarity and organization skills we use for, say, a manual, but applying them through the lens of maximizing how much people retain and reducing that mental friction.
Precisely. And this also requires some specific skills like defining clear training objectives, maybe storyboarding, and knowing how to use specialized tools, think Articulate, Captivate, even advanced PowerPoint.
Right.
And let's be honest, for instructor-led training, you also need the willingness, maybe even the genuine desire to actually stand up in front of people and teach. Not everyone enjoys that.
Yep, true. Okay, next up, assisting with QA testing. Now, wait a minute. Isn't this just piling on extra work? How do we sell engineering on the idea that a writer's expertise with procedures is actually more efficient than using a dedicated QA tester? Because nobody knows the intended happy path usage better than the person who wrote the step-by-step instructions.
Ah, good point.
We are, in effect, the ultimate procedural auditors. We already possess the product knowledge, the procedure expertise, and a really detailed understanding of how a user should behave. Plus, we often already have access to the product and the bug tracking system anyway.
Okay, so the missing piece then is formalizing our understanding of what happens when things go wrong. Understanding both expected and unexpected user behavior, system behavior, and maybe getting access to the formal test cases QA uses.
Exactly. You're essentially turning your documentation review process into a kind of de facto test script. That's the efficiency argument right there.
Yeah.
And finally, let's talk about what might be the ultimate game changer. Project management, PM. I mean, if we're serious about reversing that unequal dependence we talked about, this role flips it immediately. How so?
Well, technical writers are often the sort of secret glue holding projects together anyway, aren't we?
We are organized by necessity, that's for sure. We track processes, progress. We're adept at work breakdown, figuring out task order, managing schedules, dependencies. We work across teams constantly.
Yeah.
And we probably understand the definition of done better than many folks.
Right. So when you actually step up and take on formal PM responsibilities, suddenly the engineering team starts relying on you for scheduling, for tracking those dependencies. It completely reverses the flow of reliance right from the project start.
Wow. Okay. That's a powerful shift.
It is. But to formalize it, you do need some grounding. You need to understand organizational life cycles.
Yeah.
Is the company agile, waterfall, some hybrid? You need knowledge of different teams' capabilities and goals, and just the basics, the foundations of project management. You're essentially scaling up the planning and tracking you already do for your docs and applying it to the whole product release.
This whole list of opportunities.
Yeah.
It's really exciting. But the source material is pretty clear, isn't it? These high-value roles, they don't just land in your lap.
Nope, rarely.
If you want to transform your career, become that indispensable partner we've been talking about,
Right.
you need a concrete action plan.
Absolutely. And the source lays out 5 key proactive steps you really need to take, starting now. First, and this is crucial, get buy-in from your direct manager. Make sure they support you expanding your role this way, and importantly, that they understand the strategic value you're aiming to provide the company. Okay, step 1, manager buy-in. What's next? Second, start building those bridges. Proactively reach out and connect with people and teams outside your usual documentation circle. Think UX team, instructional designers, the folks who own key processes.
Got it. Networking internally. Third, be intentional about it. Volunteer. Offer to assist with things that genuinely interest you. Don't sit back and wait for a formal request. If you're keen on UX, offer to review some screens, give feedback on terminology. If process improvement interests you, maybe offer to flowchart the current deployment pipeline. Small offers. Makes sense. Start small, show value. What's number 4?
Fourth, you need to be present. If there's a meeting or a discussion happening that's relevant to a skill you want to develop or a project you want to influence, gently invite yourself. Ask if you can sit in. You have to be in the room to spot the opportunities and demonstrate your relevance.
Right. You can't contribute if you're not there.
Yeah.
Okay, and the fifth step. And the fifth step is maybe the most critical. Initiate. Start doing small tasks or projects to just get the ball rolling. Don't wait to be asked. Just start improving the clarity of a design doc you come across. Or maybe map out a confusing process flow you encountered. Show that immediate value. The larger opportunities often follow from that. So by taking these proactive steps, getting buy-in, building bridges, volunteering, being present, initiating, you really do fundamentally change the whole dynamic, don't you?
Completely.
You shift from being that dependent resource who gets handed something at the very end to being an indispensable partner whose input is actually needed right from the beginning. Defining the product, shaping the process, influencing the training. That's the powerful shift we should all be aiming for.
Absolutely. Technical writers, you are so much more than just writers. You're communicators, you're process analysts, you're user advocates. You're essential for company-wide success. And your own career growth really depends on applying that whole comprehensive skill set.
Well said.
Thank you for listening to the Technical Writing Success Podcast, where we help you get smarter than your competition. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, and share. We'll see you next week.